Welcome to the Nerd Tutorial Podcast, a podcast offering discussions and tutorials on nerdy subjects for people who aren't necessarily nerdy themselves. With you today, myself is Nerdy to George, and with me here today, my fabulous mom, my mom.
Hey, and Mother's Day is tomorrow.
It is. We are recording this just before Mother's Day. So today's topic is going to be a little bit different because it's not a topic on a franchise or something nerdy.
Oh.
We're going to talk about moving as a nerd.
Oh, excellent. Very timely. Okay.
Yeah. So, for those who may not be aware, I have just moved. I moved from a portion of San Jose to another portion of San Jose, so I'm not too far away. But I did move.
You're probably 10 miles as the crow flies.
I counted it as about 12.
12, okay.
So, I mean, like, we want to be
right.
hyper-technical.
Yeah.
Right, so I didn't move that far away, but I moved to a bigger place. And I figured, like, now, not a common thing you might think about all that often, but moving as a nerd is a little difficult.
Because nerds have lots of fragile stuff.
Well, it's not that we just have a lot of fragile stuff. We have a lot of stuff. We have collections on collections, and we have all sorts of different bibs and bobs that we are holding on to and keeping track of.
Just that computer.
Yes, just my computer alone.
Yeah.
Because it comes with a 55-inch screen and two other monitors. One is I think it's a 38 widescreen, literal widescreen, and there's another 36-inch widescreen as well. And there's the desk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before all the little bips and bobs.
Quite frankly, every time I look at that thing, I wonder if you're hacking the Pentagon, but that's just me.
Pop thinks I land airplanes.
It looks like it could. It's quite the rig.
It's a nice rig, but I mean, my laptop has about the same power as that here. A little under.
Yeah.
So, and I got my laptop at a screaming deal during Prime Days.
Ah.
Which are coming up here eventually. Sometime here in July.
Yep. I shop during Prime Days.
I do too. Again, you get some really good deals during Prime Days.
Yeah.
The monitor that Pop has in his classroom is from Prime Days.
Oh, very cool.
Mm-hmm. So, some of the things I wanted to talk about during that I encountered during my move, but then also things I thought about during the move, were things I wanted to discuss because maybe. If you have a nerdy friend or you are moving and you are nerdy, stuff you might want to consider.
Well, and some of it may apply to non-nerds as well.
Oh, yeah, no, yeah, absolutely. I mean,
if you had a high volume of collectibles, I think that's a deal.
Absolutely. And I have a fairly large amount of bips and bobs, and stuff. So, so the first thing I would recommend before you ever put anything into a box is to take pictures of stuff.
Oh. Okay, so I'm paying attention because in a couple of years I will move, and I've been in the same house for 40 years.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I recommend taking pictures of stuff.
Okay.
Especially, so taking pictures of your bookcases, setups for stuff that you either want to keep, or even just how you have stuff decorated.
Uh-huh.
So that way when you go to your new place, you can either put it back in the same place or you can make sure that everything is there. And you're not missing anybody or anything that came with your collections. It also just might be a good way of keeping track of where your stuff is at the end of the day as well. So again, like if you're saying, if this is a box full of all that anime figurine stuff, okay, cool, all right. Or, hey, I know this is a box of all DVDs, and these are all the DVDs are kind of, there. Like, for me, when I was putting together my bookcases here, I forgot what bookcases kept which books.
Well, the interesting thing is and this goes back to, I have moved children any number of times.
Yes.
Between all of you. And one of the things that we found when we moved John last summer to Philadelphia was we went into the storage space where some IKEA furniture had been dismantled, or IKEA type furniture had been dismantled, and we couldn't tell whether all the pieces were there.
Yes.
So out of that, I decided to, on the inside door of some of my IKEA pieces, attach an envelope, a clear envelope, that has the instructions for how that whole piece goes together.
Yeah.
Because we ended up tossing. John took a piece of thing, and he looked at it, he said, "I think I know what this is." And then when he went to put it together, he either didn't have all the pieces or it wasn't what he thought it was, and it ended up being tossed.
Yeah, you traveled with something that you didn't need to travel with at the end of the day.
Well, especially since it was tight in that van,
Mm-hmm.
and he was moving an entire apartment in a single. We were confined to a single van because it was so expensive to drop it off on the other side that it was cheaper to buy new furniture there.
Yeah. Which may be a consideration to take into account from where you're moving. Now, again, I moved a relatively short distance, but if you're moving a long distance, there might be a calculation that says, do you sell this while you're there, or find somebody who can buy this off you, and go from there. I mean,
Well, okay, so your brother did that this summer where he sold both his daughters their bunk beds and then a lot of their furniture because the cost of pods going from California to Idaho was $3,000 a pod or something like that.
Yeah.
And the cost of moving it was less expensive than the cost of buying it new.
Yeah.
And so they bought them new beds.
Mm-hmm.
So some of those standard things actually were cheaper to do that way.
Yeah, and at the same time, I mean, for where you moved, you wouldn't need a bunk bed anymore.
Yeah, because the girls had... Well, yeah, but those bunk beds would break down into separate beds.
Oh.
It was still cheaper to sell them there and buy new in Idaho.
I did not know.
Yeah.
So there's that. So again, I mean, I like taking pictures of stuff just because I know where stuff goes at the end of the day.
It's a great idea.
And also you can just kind of keep track of what your stuff is at the end of the day, too. I mean, I found some things that I was like, oh, man, I don't know where to put this. Where did this go beforehand? And especially when it came to my books, I didn't know where some of my books went on my bookcases. And so that also brings the next item here as well is, or one of the things I would recommend is getting blue painter's tape.
Oh, okay.
Because keep in mind that blue painter's tape doesn't stick to,
Yeah, it can peel off walls.
Peels off walls. It's a relatively light stick. And, for me in a lot of cases with cables, this was just...
That's perfect. I'm looking at it right there.
Very inefficient way of keeping track of cables that I don't need to unwind frequently at all. So, I now have an entire Tupperware bun. You never need to buy another HDMI cable. I apparently have a small...
A huge drawer. Yeah.
Storefront of HDMI cables for no apparent reason other than I have them.
Yeah.
So I have now I have an entire Tupperware bin that's just wound up cables and electronics.
Well, and I try to think of, when, so I went through this a couple of years ago when I redid our master bedroom. Part of what I was trying to think of when I set it up was I made a point for a couple of months beforehand of thinking about what don't I have now that I wish I had.
Mm-hmm.
Are there times when I would like to put a cup of coffee down on something and there's nothing there? Are there times when I would like to have a place where I could put a book readily handy or something like that? And I tried to make a mental list of those things that that I wish I had or wished I were readily handy, and that led me to buy a bookcase headboard.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah, and I like that headboard. It's actually very, functional in a lot of ways.
Oh yeah, no, I mean it's a bed with drawers,
Mm-hmm.
which I'm a big believer in, because it's storage underneath the bed but easily accessible. So it's a bed with drawers, and then it's got a bookcase headboard, which is really nice because I've got a shelf above me that's easy to put stuff on. I've got lamps on it,
Mm-hmm.
and it's got bookcases on the sides.
Yeah,
and it's been perfect.
yeah, and so. I mean, going into my place here, I don't have a lot of new items just yet, but thinking about some more storage unit spaces. But I don't really need them just yet, so I mean, there's that. But I mean, to go back to the original thing here again, blue painter's tape, I found to be very useful, especially when boxing up some of my items here, because again, I mean, the tape is, you know, very easy to cut, very easy to open up. You know, doesn't leave
Frogger tape would be the same sort of thing.
Yeah, it doesn't leave a lot of residue on stuff at all, so it worked out really, really well in a lot of cases for when, like, oh, well, I should either get a rubber band or get like a zip tie, or again, I mean, like,
that's an excellent idea. That's just brilliant.
Mm-hmm. And especially if you've got some furniture pieces here that you want to keep shut and closed here, like doors and stuff like that, you know.
Oh, beyond that, I mean, I'm thinking about it. I use blue painter's tape to keep tent poles together. Mm-hmm. So that poles that assemble together when you put together a tent are all in one package. So I actually have in my tent bag a roll of blue painter's tape, because that way when I go to assemble the tent, I know that everything's taped together. Mm-hmm. And every time we take down the tent, we do the same thing. You tape those, okay, these three poles go together. And it makes the whole assembly thing so much easier.
Yeah, and imagine if you had that with those IKEA furniture pieces, that might have. So I have a new table in, you know, which is now ostensibly my office, and it came with one of those hex screw items there. Yeah. And I have taped the hex screw to the very underside of the table.
That is brilliant.
So that way, when I I inevitably do move out of here some years later, you know, I now know where that hex screw is, and I can easily go and grab it when I need to.
Well, see, I never toss the IKEA parts, because they'll give you parts you don't need, because they don't know how you're going to assemble it. True. So they'll give you parts you don't need. So I have a box that's probably 12 by 12 by 12 that is just IKEA parts, in case I ever want to assemble it differently.
Which will never happen, admittingly.
I don't know. When we move, I might assemble it, because I have a huge wall in my bedroom of white IKEA, and it's got drawers and cabinets and the whole. It's a wall.
But will you have a huge wall when you move to your next place?
I don't know. I think I do, but because we own another house that we rent out, and I think we'll move there. But it depends where we actually move.
True.
So
you might downsize.
The other thing, though, you haven't meant. Yeah, well, yes, that house is actually a little bit smaller, but only because it has a great room rather than a family room and a separate living room.
Ah, okay.
But one of the things I do in that house, because up until now we've rented it to students, because it has 5 rooms.
Yes.
Is I get the 3M wall hangers.
Oh yes, I have a couple of those here.
And I give those as part of a moving package to my tenants.
Oh yeah, because again they don't mess up walls.
Yeah.
I have a couple of those around here that I literally, when I went to, and I'll talk about my hardware store purchases, because I've gone to the hardware store a few times.
I bet, because I'm looking at the wall you hung, which is beautifully done.
Thank you. So yeah, I can't recommend blue painter's tape enough here.
Brilliant. I've never thought of that, but that is brilliant.
So one of the other things I would probably recommend here as well is probably taking a look at your stuff and figuring out what you want to keep and what you don't want to keep.
Yeah.
So, now, admittingly, like, when we pulled stuff out of my closet and out of storage, it was like, oh, I don't really know why I have these. You know, and I've since gone down to an e-waste place and gotten rid of a couple items. So I used to have a microwave that came from, 2 places back.
Yeah. When
I was living in a 1-bedroom sort of thing with no kitchen at all in it.
Okay.
And I basically just gave that away at this point here. I don't know anybody who, if you want to go buy a microwave.
They're cheap.
They're relatively cheap. They're very easy to find. It's not going to be one of those, like, I'm not going to be able to, if I went on Craigslist, it's like, oh, it's $20. It's not probably worth it. Now I have a refrigerator from during that time here as well. That's got a nice, freezer section in it. It's nice and big, and I got that for, about $250 back in the day.
Okay.
But again, I mean, like that it's lasted me for a very long time, and it's when you live in your own single bedroom, one bedroom, sort of, unit here that's only like maybe 250 square feet, it's nice to have a small little refrigerator like that.
Yeah.
Now I have a bigger refrigerator in a big old place. I don't really need it, so that I will try to sell off on to either go onto like the Facebook Market or Craigslist here.
I like Facebook Market.
Mm-hmm. I'm finding that to be really useful as well.
Yeah.
Mostly because like it's more streamlined than I think Craigslist is.
And it's very local. It's very easy to sort for local.
Mm-hmm. eBay might also be a big thing if you've got some stuff like that. Now I found some duplicate DVDs that I have now, where I have the Blu-rays instead.
Yeah.
So now I'm like, I have some extra stuff here. Do I really need this extra stuff? Maybe this is something where I donate it or find somebody who would be interested in these DVDs or something.
Well, we offered you guys. We sorted through our DVDs and sorted out a bunch of them. We offered them to all four of you, and none of you wanted them. We ended up giving to Salvation Army like 30 DVDs. It's okay.
The horrors of 30 DVDs lost from a collection.
I know.
I remember when
I have things I have bought on 3 different medias, and I realize I will most likely buy on a 4th.
Mm-hmm.
Because we had them in VHS and then in DVD and then in Blu-ray.
Yep. Super Mario Brothers World is a game I have bought 4 times now.
Yeah.
And every time it's like, oh, well, would you like to pay $10 to play it on this new system? It's like, yes, I would.
Yeah. Yep.
And I'm okay with that.
Yep.
I shouldn't be, but I am.
I think most of us are. It's easy. It's really easy. I want to watch a particular movie. I really don't want to go find the DVD.
Mm-hmm.
I can rent it for $3.99. I can buy it for like $9.99 or $12.99, really easily, and be done with it and have it on my TV. Never have to plug in. I can just ask for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I mean, at this point now, the new case for my computer doesn't even have a DVD drive in it.
Yeah.
Well,
I'm old enough that I still remember floppy disk drives.
I remember floppy disks. I remember back in the day when you were in college, you had to have your own your 3x5 diskette here, so that way when you needed to go print something, you could go print it on there because USB flash sticks were not as ubiquitous just yet.
And John turns in papers. He was when he was UC Merced, he was turning in papers on flash drives,
mm-hmm.
and now they go to FTP sites and drop them off.
Nice.
Yeah. So there's a lot you don't need.
There's a lot of items you don't need, and there's also, again, like you were saying beforehand, there's a lot of items which when you travel, may be a lot easier to repurchase than to literally transport it.
Yeah.
I've thought about it before about if I were to move like long distance here, like I probably will not take my desks with me or even the bed. I mean, it might just be easier just to sell those off or get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
Than to travel cross country with them if that were to happen here. Because I remember, because when I moved from SoCal up to the Bay Area here, I had the pleasure of doing so.
You had a paid moving service.
Huh?
Your employer paid a moving service.
Yes, my employer paid to move me, and so, back then that wasn't an issue for me to be like, oh, well, yeah, we'll just take everything.
Yeah.
Then I used movers again this time to pack up a lot of my stuff here, and so. But I know for a lot of people that may not be an option either.
Well, the economics of it. I mean, Mark and Amanda did moved a family of 4
mm-hmm.
in 3 pods, but the pods were $3,000 a piece,
mm-hmm.
and they pack them themselves, and then they pick up the pod, and then they give you a date that it's going to be delivered.
Yep.
And that worked for them. But it's not inexpensive, and they got rid of a lot of stuff, and became very judicious about what they were taking and what they were leaving behind.
Mm-hmm.
And I know when my sister moved from Temecula to Ohio, same sort of thing. It was this was a couple years ago, and it was like $4,500 to move her, and she moved stuff that she easily would have been cheaper to
rebuy.
Yeah, it was actually kind of she wasn't very judicious about it, and she's got boxes she's never opened. And that's part of it. I know when we remodeled our house, which is a little like moving because you box up so much.
Yep.
And we remodeled our kitchen, and I made a point of boxing things in such a way that the things I used all the time were boxed in one set of boxes, and then there were other things that I boxed and went, if I don't use it for a year, I'm going to give it away.
Yeah. And
eventually I did do that. So I no longer own a punch bowl. I know. Horror.
How will we drink from the Kool-Aid bowl?
You don't. Now you have water dispensers. You have the little. I have the glass water thing on a stand. Yeah. So I mean, there are things. I think people now no longer, when they get married, put china on the list.
Yes, we actually know a person that's getting married here soon, and I don't know if plateware or anything was on their list at all.
No plateware. I got her some glasses, but when your cousin Georgia got married, it was very plain white china. White china. It wasn't really china. It was more sort of stoneware-ish and things. So because people don't want to move it.
Yeah.
And that's. I mean, you're not going to use it.
Yeah.
And people don't want to move it.
Nope, I fully agree with that one.
Yep.
Okay, so let's get to some of the big key items here is boxing your collectibles.
That's got to be such a pain in the ass.
So bubble wrap is going to be your friend here.
I gave you a bunch.
I used a lot. I used all of it, actually.
I gave you like little rolls.
Oh, I have an entire box that's full of nothing but bubble wrap. You're welcome to take that box with you if you want.
No, thank you. Oh, I may take some because I have something I have to send, but yeah.
Yeah, but I have an entire box of bubble wrap that I will probably keep just in case. But
yeah,
God knows where I'll put it right now. So little space now. I mean, there's so much space here. But no, yeah. So one of the things I would actually probably recommend here, especially when it comes to your collectibles here, is to is to figure out what shape things are at and how they'll fit into boxes. If they can be collapsed or they can be taken apart. So there's a couple statues that are here in the living room, which, there's a pedestal base and the figurine comes off of it.
Yeah.
One of them's got a sword, so that got blue painter's tape to the base.
So it didn't get separated and thrown away with the bubble wrap.
Yeah.
Which would be easy to do.
Yeah, and and that's one of those things here where it's like, keep all the things. If something can be collapsed or something has parts to it, again, that's why I recommended the blue painter's tape here. If it's, those are stuff that you can very easily keep all switched together, or especially on the blue painter's tape, just kind of stack them on top of one another, so that way you keep all the parts essentially.
Yep. It's brilliant.
Yeah. And then at the same time here as well is like, if you've got like really, really small things, keep small boxes. So again, I have a couple different boxes. I think one of them I have right now is actually right over here. So this used to be a box from a pair of headphones that I got.
Yeah, it's a nice size square solid box with some padding.
With some padding in it, and it's, I put a lot of the smaller little items in here into Ziploc bags, and so again, so there's a little Saber Nendoroid that you got me for Christmas here, but it comes with like all these little parts and everything.
It had the one with faces?
Yes.
I don't know why that struck me, but it just struck me.
Well, you can change out the different faces. So there's like a nice, happy smiling face, there's an angry face, and then there's like everything's going to face. So, and Nendoroids tend to do that. They tend to come with a lot of bits and bobs to do it on there. which is why like a couple of them are not even unboxed; they're just in their boxes sitting up there.
Yeah.
Because I'm so afraid that like if I open it, I gotta put it somewhere, and then I've gotta pose it, and God forbid I lose something out of that at one point. Like,
My favorite is the little geisha saber.
I do like that one too. She's very cute.
Yeah.
So again, keep little boxes as well, because again, those little boxes, I got a electric toothbrush here recently that came in a nice little box, and it had like a nice little plastic tray in it. Mm-hmm. Oh, that was invaluable for moving. Like I was able to put like a couple different small figurines, weapons, and other things inside there, and that was perfect for moving.
I'm still in awe of the concept of using the painter's tape just to tape pieces so you don't lose them.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and they were great around the bubble wrap too, because again, you could, unwrap it, or you could write on. I have a Sharpie, and I was writing stuff on there.
Yeah.
Especially for one of the cables for my computer, which is a 4K cable to get the 4K output onto the 55-inch television screen.
Yeah.
Like I just kind of like put a little extra bit off there. Sorry, the screen wanted to go off because I didn't touch it for a little bit.
Yeah.
So we're doing this on my laptop instead of my computer, which normally stays on all the time. So, gotta remember to move the mouse occasionally.
Yeah, I hate it when that happens too. I'll be on the phone and I'll watch it go. I'm like, oh.
Again, I just took a little bit of the tape, folded it over, and just said like 4K cable. So I was able to do that with some of the figurines. I was able to say like this figurine, and then when I was doing that, I kept all the things together as well. So all the different collections and stuff were all kind of in the same box or in the same collection of stuff here. So like all the Fate Stay Night stuff was in the kind of same box. All the Code Geass stuff was all together. All the Evangelion stuff was kind of all together. So everything was kind of in. So I knew kind of where all the different series were at certain points here. So I knew to make sure the entire collection was complete. And again, I could go off the pictures I took to make sure I did have everything.
Yeah, makes complete sense.
Mm-hmm. Tupperware can also be your friend as well if you don't have small boxes.
Well, yeah, and I've used storage containers before, food storage containers, to pack up stuff that stays together.
Oh yeah, I have literally about a dozen of those little like small little tray things.
Yeah.
Tray ones. They're like maybe like 3 inches tall by like 2.5 inches wide by like 5 inches wide, long. Like I got like probably about a dozen of those that were holding like either figurines or some sort of small bits and bobs at one point. If you've got a nice collection of DVDs and books, you might want to pack it yourself, and when you pack it, keep it in order.
Yeah.
Because, so I had movers who put all my DVDs and books together, and they do not care that all of Love Hina got mixed together with whatever other books I had, whatever manga I had, and they did not care that, oh, well, clearly we'll move this entire like 8 set DVD collection. We'll just kind of put it everywhere.
Put it wherever it fits in the box.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I spent about a good hour organizing DVDs, and about another 2 hours organizing all my Japanese manga to make sure that like, where was this in the stack?
Yeah.
Where is volume number 13? I have like volumes 1 through 17. Where is number 13 right now? It's here in this box. So if you have the opportunity to pack your DVDs and your books together.
Yep.
It will.
That absolutely makes sense.
I'm sorry, the screen just went off again. I was trying to do an update. That's why.
Ah.
So apologies.
No problem.
Yeah, tomorrow is fine. Trying to tell my PC to not be a prick right now. It's a or my laptop rather.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
my laptop, try and ask it not to be a prick here if it could
Hold off being a prick.
yeah. So
Be a prick later.
I'm gonna see if I can't just go into the power settings real quickly and turn off some of these settings real quickly. If it will be so generous as to let me. There we go. Power and sleep settings.
So one of the questions I have for you, because you have set this up pretty quickly. I mean, it looks really nice, and I guess one of the questions I have for you is did you know when you were looking at apartments, and you looked at apartments and condos and
yeah, I looked for about a good almost 2 months.
So were you sort of mentally laying out your furniture?
Yes. Yeah, everywhere I was going.
Because if everything fits really well.
Yeah, everywhere I was going, I was mentally kind of figuring out where stuff would go. Now, the office, for example, the intention for me was to have the 3 bookcases that I have side by side with one another.
Uh-huh.
And the idea was that you would have the 2 taller ones at the end, and you'd have the smaller one in the middle, so it had kind of that kind of tiered aesthetic sort of thing going on. But then, so when you're looking at places, bring a tape measure.
Yeah. Because it didn't fit?
No, it didn't fit quite that way. So I had a little bit of struggle trying to figure out where I put the second table, which I had already ordered by that point, and where do I put this bookcase at. I think where I've put it at now works out for itself. The other thing as well, when I was looking at places, were windows. Because windows are the enemies of collectibles.
Oh, because they fade?
Well, not just because they fade, it's just that because if you have a room that's got 2 windows on it,
mm-hmm.
that means that one of those rooms is going to have a closet on it and the other one's going to have the door.
Oh, so you're not going to have any place to put the
bookcases without literally blocking out windows. So for example, if you were to go to the unit above me, the office room has another window where the wall would be where the monitor is.
Okay, on that far end.
Yeah, so that would make it a lot more difficult to have a second, more bookcases up against that wall. Now, thankfully, the way I've laid out that room, you could do that without too much of an issue.
Yeah.
So the windows wouldn't be too impactful necessarily, but you'd basically have a window. You'd basically be losing a window at that point.
Well,
which was something I looked into.
Well, and this is one of the considerations whenever you lay out where a computer is going to go.
Mm-hmm.
Because you really need to think about what's going to cause glare. And having a computer with a window behind it doesn't work. There are some angles at which it doesn't work. So I mean, 2 things. If you're looking at a monitor and there's a window behind the monitor, that doesn't work. If the window's directly behind you, there'll be times of the day when perhaps that doesn't work, depending on which way it's facing,
mm-hmm.
Because you'll have sunlight coming in through that window that hits the computer monitor. So that's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah, and that was part of my logic as well, is that when I was looking at places, was how would I fit stuff into certain rooms? Because again, for me in particular, the bedroom could be a smaller bedroom for me,
mm-hmm.
but the office needed to be a bigger room because I knew I'd be in that office a whole lot more than I would in the bedroom.
Well, you even talked with some of the places you were looking at living in the second bedroom and using the master bedroom as an office.
Yes,
because I know we talked about that.
Yeah, there was a couple places in which. There was one place, for example, where I went into what would have been the master bedroom, and it was huge. It's the size. It was bigger than what is my new living room here now.
Wow,
was the master
it's
bedroom?
A big living room.
Yeah, and I remember being in there and be like, wow, this is a great space for an office. I can see this desk over here. I can see all my bookcases right behind me, and the windows are in such a way that. They're not going, that they're all the way at the very end. I can blind them, or so I won't have a glare, so I won't have that issue here. And then I was looking over at the other bedroom, and it's how would this work? Because typically your master bedrooms would have, your walk-in bathroom into them.
Yeah.
And for me being in what would be the second bedroom or the guest bedroom or the at that point here doesn't have a walk-in bathroom.
Yeah.
So how does that work? So I even practiced it a few times where I was just like, do I go to this bathroom, or when I need to go take a shower, do I go to the office bathroom? I was like, which one ends up being, because the office bathroom, or rather, excuse me, the master bedroom tends to also be the bigger bathroom in some cases.
Yeah, better appointed.
Yeah, and so it was always just kind of this feeling
More counter
of like,
space.
Yeah, and so it was this feeling of, for me at least, was that if I had the second bedroom as an office, does that bathroom become the guest bathroom, and then at that point here, whereas if I was as where normally the master bedroom would be the master bedroom, not the office, So that was a thing for me, which is probably not typical for a lot of people, but like that what. And again, I mean, like, it was also a logic of like, whereas physically I would be the apartment style as well was also a concern for me.
Yeah,
I ended up picking a complex over a building style at the end of the day, which is not too dissimilar to what I was beforehand.
we refer to this in the industry as garden style.
Oh, okay, garden style. My apologies.
But yeah, no. It's interesting because we refer to this as garden style because you've got
gardens kind of all around you.
Yeah.
Which is not too dissimilar to what was one of my other timeshare properties I worked for when I was still working in hotels.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, it was literally
Was it Wyndham?
Yeah, so it was literally a renovated apartment complex that got turned into timeshare
By Disneyland.
right over by Disneyland. And funny enough, one of the maintenance people that was there used to physically live at the complex at one point. So, so there was that. But I thought about buildings as well. I think the only thing I think really kind of turned me away from the buildings was the parking. Mm-hmm. They did have all the parking complexes inside the building. A lot of them didn't necessarily have assigned parking, so you could.
So it's an underground garage, basically.
Or no, a lot of it actually was in the center of the building.
Oh, okay.
So like you'd have the center of the building would be all parking complexes, and parking garage, and then all the outside exterior facing would be all the actual units.
Yeah.
So you wouldn't have like a garden in sort of perspective at all.
Yeah.
And those all had a lot fewer windows as well. I mean, like, this has a lot more windows, which I think brings a lot more life into it a little bit more. Because the natural light, I think, really does help out.
Yeah, and I'm a natural light person, so I'm big with not, being someplace where you have to block windows to fit everything in.
Yeah, had I still been working for the hotel and working overnights, now that would be a much different story, But this works out really well for me.
Yeah.
So DVDs and books, pack them together. Other thing to keep in mind of when you're packing books are heavy.
Yes, do not put too many in one box. You can outweigh the box.
Oh, no. Get smaller boxes for books.
Yeah.
I had these much, much smaller boxes than I would for other items at the end of the day. And even then, even this small little box was still very heavy.
Yeah.
So kind of keep that in mind when you're doing books. Because again, even the mover guys were like, "You have a lot of books." I was like, "I do. Sorry." Yeah. If you've got props and costumes, those are probably not all nerdy people sort of issues here. But again, things to consider here is that like
cosplay.
Now I have a number of cosplay costumes here.
Yeah.
And so I put a lot of my costumes now I put into like suit bags almost.
Garment bags. Yeah.
Garment bags. Okay, yeah, that's the technical term for it.
Yeah.
Because as an example here, like my Eggman costume, there is the mustache and the glasses and a couple other items that go along with it.
Boot covers.
The boot covers. I also have so you have, again, Dr. Robotnik here, who has a whole bunch of different pieces to him
Yeah.
Again, you've the boot covers, the mustache, the glasses. I have about like a dozen pair of white gloves.
Yeah.
Because I found these nice kind of like museum handling kind of gloves almost.
Ah, yeah.
And you wear them, like you'll go through them by the end of the day here, and they'll just get like dark and dirty from all the different stuff you've touched and everything, so they don't look white and pristine anymore.
Yeah.
So like I just have like a dozen of those in there. I also have some powders, and I also have like some makeup powders and stuff.
Yeah.
So that way, when I go through there, I can contour my head to look a little bit more balder because I'll shave my head.
Yeah.
And so I put a little more foundation on there, so that way when it gets to be midday, my hair starts growing again. Like, oh no, it's you don't see it as much, and so it just makes it look nicer. But again, having it all in the garment bag means I can store everything in there right away.
Doesn't get separated.
And all the pieces are together. I have that with my Jedi costume, with the Wildstar costume as well. So a lot of those are in garment bags at the end of the day. And then to move them, I put them in space-saving bags as well.
Oh, so you suck the air out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I did that with my plushes as well. So I have a very extensive collection of plushed animals.
Yeah.
Now, the ones in the living room are too big to put into a space saver bag.
Yeah.
Because they're bigger than,
Jigglypuff.
It's Jigglypuff. I mean,
you couldn't do that, Jigglypuff.
You could.
It wouldn't be nice.
Jigglypuff would be very upset with you afterwards.
Yeah.
But no, so like there's some big items like that I couldn't put in the space saver bags, but a lot of the smaller stuff I could put in space saver bags, and they save a whole bunch of space.
Yeah.
But when we get to costumes here, again, space saver bags might be your friends in that case here, to save space here. They're also just really useful. Like there's some costumes that I haven't worn in a while that like putting it in a space saver bag, just gives me kind of that like, okay, well I know it's there, and so if I want
now realize when you go to take them out, you're going to have to fluff them.
Yes,
they're going to be all sorts of wrinkly.
Oh yeah, no, yeah. I'm very aware that I'll probably want to put them through the dryer or put them into the shower with me when I take a nice steamy shower or something or bath.
Yeah, exactly.
Just to give it a little bit of fluff and volume back to it.
Yep.
The other interesting thing here as well is if you've got props, I've got I have like at least a good sword.
Yeah. Lightsabers.
I have lightsabers that, again, to this day, even when I travel with them, I keep them in the box.
Yeah.
Because the box came with bubble wrap around it, and I have a little like fanny pack that comes along with me that has all the little has all the Allen wrenches, extra batteries, the different caps that go along with them.
Yeah. That
was all in that one box, so I'm really thankful for that, because I remember when moving the television, the movers guys asked me, so you still have the box for the TV? It's like, who keeps the box for the TV?
Yeah. Who does keep the box for the TV? Maybe if you have a huge garage.
If you have a really big garage, maybe, but I mean,
yeah.
Us apartment dwellers do not get garages very often. I've gotten a garage.
Yeah.
But even the one I have now, I share it with somebody else. And
Yeah.
I'm just like, I'd store stuff here, but I don't know.
Well, it depends, who you share with.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, take count of your cosplay at the end of the day. I mean, I can only imagine people who dress up in the big Space Marines or have really big parts to their costume probably have a lot more difficult time moving those costumes.
Yeah.
But also kind of keep into a fact of how you would move it normally when you went to a convention. That might be the best way to travel with it. For me, when I've gotten to conventions, I've purposely made sure that my costumes can fit into bags.
Yeah.
Even Gyarados, which was almost 10 feet long, almost 40 pounds on my shoulders. I still made sure that when I was making him, that you could take him apart into segments.
Yeah.
And so that way, when I put him into the bag, I could collapse him at the end of the day, and I could do it in such a way that it wouldn't be that it wouldn't be like, okay, well, I built this giant thing now. How do I make it get into the bag?
Yeah.
You know, that's a thing you have to consider when you're making cosplay in general.
You could almost decorate with Gyarados.
You could. I really want to. I really want to make it, the original intention of Gyarados was to make him this giant plush.
Yeah.
And then I found that when I was trying to make him as a plush, he just would not. He was not rigid enough to keep his form.
Yeah.
Which is then when I tried to make him out of silicone, which I knew would keep its form, but even then I was like, you know, now thinking back to it, is like, I really should have figured out a better way to make him into like a plush. Because he would have been a lot softer and potentially a lot lighter, but even then, even some plushes are really heavy.
They'd be heavy, yeah. I was going to say, they're just large.
Yeah, so maybe there's a chicken wire foam sort of
solution,
potentially. That or foam fiberglass.
Yeah.
You know.
And the thing is making it durable, because I think, okay, so I use clay mache sometimes, but it's not that it breaks.
Actually, I think if I could find a plastic tubing that was rigid enough but lightweight enough that I could layer it in foam, that you could get away with Gyarados. Because you could cut it up into the segments, surround it in foam, and build each one of the different little Gyarados segments to them.
We'll go visit Tap Plastics.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic plastic place.
So, yeah, so speaking of weapons, you know, like, I don't normally keep boxes for stuff in a lot of cases. I'm really, really thankful I kept the box for one of my figurines, which is my Megatron Dragon Transformer. Because having the box for that and being able to put it back into the box was really, really thankful for that.
Well, I have a beautiful Captain Marvel, and I have her box.
Yeah. And again, like, the packaging for it alone is worth it here. It makes it so much easier to transport them.
Yeah.
And so, again, if you have boxes like that, keep them. You may have already tossed them at this point, but definitely worth keeping them.
Yeah. Plus, it helps on resale.
Yeah.
If you ever decide to resell it.
Yeah, if there's a point in which you decide to resell it here, the boxes. In Japan, actually, like, a lot of you remember that store we went to with all the figurines?
There were several stores we went to that were reselling figurines.
Mm-hmm. A lot of the value for those figurines comes from having the box.
Yep.
And that was a big deal. Like, I remember, like,
the price difference between them.
Mm-hmm. They could be about an extra, like, $15 to $20, if not $30 less in some cases. Now, for me, who just wants to display, like, that's a perfectly fine trade-off for me.
Yeah, you're not going to resell it. You're not there as an investor.
No, yeah. So.
Yeah.
So the other thing to consider here is how you're getting it to the next place. We talked a little bit about that, with the furniture and stuff, but if you have the opportunity to, and again, I moved some of my stuff here ahead of time. So my bedroom, for example, I have like this cube storage system from IKEA with all these like plastic pouches and everything.
Yeah.
I moved those all ahead of time.
Well, you have a Prius, so it's easy to...
Yeah, so I was able to like just collapse one of the seats and just toss a whole bunch of stuff into the back of my car.
Yeah.
And I was able to move that. I moved a couple of my...
So the cubes?
Yeah, so the cubes, not the cube storage system, but just the individual cubes.
Yeah.
And it had all my clothes in them already, so I didn't have to like unfold everything. Yeah. It's very easy to just kind of dump everything in there. And
that's true of drawers, too. I mean, if you're moving furniture... A lot of times the drawer is as good as a box.
Mm-hmm. So I was able to move those over. I was able to move some of the computer parts over. Some of the figurines I was able to move over as well. The prop weapons like the swords and stuff I was able to move over ahead of time as well, which made things a lot easier at the end of the day here.
Oh yeah.
I was able to move over Captain America's shield, the Infinity Gauntlets. Thor's hammer, like, was able to just literally able to just kind of like put them in the back of my Prius, park in front of my apartment, and just walk them back and forth. And so, I think that did save me quite a bit of time at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Now, yes, it does take time to move them. But again, but the other concern here as well is if you're moving a long distance here, and you have to drive there, like again, like in the case of John here, for example.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me if at the end of the day here, like, if John had like a moving company, like if he didn't take some of the more like valuable items in his own car here at the end of the day. That maybe that is the
box that disappears.
huh?
The box that disappears.
Well, not necessarily the box that disappears, but more or less just the notion of like maybe he takes the Green Ranger costume and in there, or maybe he takes he has a Lord of the Rings sword, or no, he has Longclaw from Game of Thrones. Excuse me. Like maybe he takes that into his car, and maybe that travels with him in his car as well. You know, stuff like that.
Well, green. So the Green Ranger. So we had the cargo van, and his Prius to move, and so I drove the Prius, and the Prius was packed.
Yes.
I had a hard time seeing out the back window. And we ended up, as the boxes settled in the cargo van, finding a space to actually put one of the boxes that was in the Prius, so that I could see better. But yeah, the Green Ranger actually went packed in a hamper with clothes. So the shoulder pads and the helmet and those pieces went packed with clothes in a hamper.
Yeah. I've
Clean
grabbed
clothes.
Huh?
Clean clothes.
Yes. Well, I mean,
the hamper was used as a container.
Yes, I've used my hamper as containers before too. I mean, like all my blankets and towels all went into one of them when I moved here. Yeah. And even a fresh load of laundry, which was stacked on top of new laundry, got moved over here as well. Yeah. So maybe that's the third. That's another thing here is that like don't overlook what you have to transport stuff in. Again, drawers and hampers and stuff could be very useful for transporting stuff.
Well, and I'm going to throw in a different thing because a lot of people self-move. It's one thing to have friends helping you carry furniture, helping you load a truck, okay, helping you unload a truck. It's hard to have friends pack for you.
Yes.
Because they don't understand how you use things. They don't understand what things stay together. They don't understand the things you use most and need the quickest access to. And they'll label the box something you won't be able to interpret.
Yeah, again, my movers labeled a lot of my stuff toys, which was very disingenuous because some of it is toys and some of them are collectibles, and I was just kind of like, oh, where is it? Where is this? The other thing here to keep as well is that keep things you need together. I, for a long time, could not find the remote to my television. Yeah. And so, thankfully, the power switch was accessible, and I've connected my TV to my phone so I can use my phone as a remote. Yeah. So I was thankful in that particular respect.
But not everybody's going to be able to do that.
No. So, I mean, like, if you have a remote that goes with your TV, maybe you blue tape that to the TV when you put it into the box to move it. Yeah. Yeah. And I wish I had thought to do that beforehand, because I was for a while like looking, and then when I finally found the remote, it was with the parts for the shelves. Yeah, I wouldn't think so either, because again, like
because it was close by, and that was the box that was open.
Well, the shelves, like, they just kind of, so the shelf boards they took out, and they have little pegs that go along with it that they put into a box essentially.
And that's worth a comment too. Ziploc bags are also your friend. Yes. So a lot of us have shelving that has the little pegs, and that determines the shelf height, and those should go in a Ziploc bag and blue taped to the shelves.
Oh yeah.
Just saying.
Butcher paper is probably a really great way of packing stuff as well. I had at least good 3 boxes worth of butcher paper. Yeah. That everything got wrapped in. Even just to fill out space in some places as well.
Yeah, just to keep things from shifting. Yeah.
So again, if you're going to move, you're going to move. Okay. So then there's the actual move. It's weird when this was the second time I moved, and I had some people actually move me. Yeah. And I opted to do that mostly because I had a lot of stuff that I knew if I was moving myself would take me a long time to do.
I offered to,
I know.
to help.
I know. But I wanted to just kind of get it done and over with.
Yep.
And I figured I work for a South American rainforest distribution company. They pay me really well. And I could do this, so I did it.
Yeah, no, I mean sometimes, and that's one of those decisions you make too.
Mm-hmm.
You have options. You have the option of renting a vehicle, in which case, don't look at it as cubic yards. There are sites online that will tell you what you can expect to fit it in terms of how many rooms.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's different. Some people have more stuff than others. Crap. But they can tell you this size will move a one-bedroom apartment.
Yeah.
Look at that information, because none of us are capable of really figuring out cubic yards or cubic feet in terms of space in a van or in a truck.
Yeah,
because we don't understand what that's going to fit into it and how high you can go in it and what you can stack on top of each other.
Yeah.
So look online for the information that tells you in this size van I can move a one-bedroom apartment, a two-bedroom apartment, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. The next thing is, if you're going to move yourself,
Mm-hmm.
is there an option, because if you're going a distance, to use the pods where they'll deliver the pods for you and you're not having to rent and drive the truck? Because most places, the cost to drop a truck in another location, because they have to put it on a rail car to move it back. To where
there's an
it's supposed to
expensive
start.
cost there. Yeah.
It's a huge cost. We priced it for John's move with several people, and it was so expensive that it would have been cheaper to hire to do what you did and have it go in a van. The problem with having it go in a moving van, if you hire a moving company and you're going a distance, is that they will stack your stuff in the van and then somebody else's stuff and then somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, so there's a possibility that...
And it gets dropped. So what they look at is, in the direction I'm going, I'm going to pack this vehicle for what gets dropped first, second, third.
Yes.
And they may have the huge vans, moving vans, will have several people's things in them. The problem there is that you're dependent on them for what day you arrive. You can't dictate what day your furniture is going to arrive. So then you're stuck waiting. That's true of the pods as well. Mark had to wait for his pods. He had to be there the day his pod was arrived, and then he had like 24 hours in which to get everything out of the pod. Which is why I flew to Idaho and helped him move everything out.
Ah, okay.
So you have all those considerations. I think most people, if you're going a fairly short distance, actually move themselves.
Yes.
And that has its own limitations as well.
When I was living in, when it was right after college, I was living in basically family houses, and I was renting a room out of them. I could move myself in about 4 moves.
Yeah, in about four carloads.
Yeah, 4 or 5 carloads of my stuff here. I could do that fairly easily on my own.
Yeah.
Even when I was moving apartments, or when I was moving in dorm rooms, I got that down to basically like a couple moves here.
Yep.
You know.
I've moved all of you in and out of dorm rooms.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
So, you could do that fairly easily. You know, in my case here, again, I moved across. I didn't move that far away, so I could have moved everything on my own. I think if I did that, though, it would take a lot longer for me to do it. Yeah,
well, I mean, so you're talking about 20 Prius loads, and a cargo van to move the furniture.
Oh yeah, at least
with a couple cargo van loads.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Should we talk about boxes?
So, the trick with boxes really is the more boxes the same size, which is why moving boxes work, and you can rent moving boxes so you don't have to buy them.
Mm.
The deal with moving boxes is they're the same size, so they'll stack nicely in the vehicle.
Oh, yeah.
It sounds like a stupid little thing, but the more containers you have at the same size. So if I have containers for fabric, and I keep buying over and over the same brand container, the
Mm-hmm.
same size, or I know the measurements of it, so because they'll stack
Oh yeah.
and they'll stack nicely.
Yeah, I'm actually literally thinking of going to my local hardware store just to buy totes to carry my fabrics that I have that I have just kind of waiting around for stuff here. Just because I know it will stack, just because I know it will stack easier in that case.
Yep.
And if I get them in the see-through clear, I can see what's inside of them each time.
Yeah, and that's what I have. So I have them in see-through clear boxes because mine's quilting fabric and other kinds of fabric and stuff like that.
Yeah, a lot of mine is felt.
Yarn. Yeah, and
or fleece, excuse me.
Yeah, and so the same size container.
Mm-hmm.
Because you just can pack so much more efficiently.
Oh yeah, it really will make a huge difference. I think at the end of the day, because again, I come from my weird job of the South American Rainforest Distribution Company. We get the boxes after they've been put together, essentially.
Yeah.
And forever trying to stack these various size boxes, and they're all, and again, like. You would think from that my company at the end of the day would make the boxes so they all stack nicely with one another.
I've often wondered if that's why you get a lot of things in oversized boxes with lots of packing, like the inflatable things in them. I assume that's because when they're packing them, they're trying to stack and keep things in the same size box.
You would think so, but a lot of those packages don't stack well at all.
Okay.
Yeah, again, I'm forever kind of confused sometimes because you will get like the comically large box that has like the one like little like foam bat in it as an example, or foam item in it, but that's because that's the biggest box that they have that'll fit that item in it.
Okay.
Versus because we get them all the time and they're not stackable.
Yeah.
They're really not. I mean, you would think they would be, but they're not, and so when we're putting them into our bags or we're putting them onto our shelves, they don't always stack nicely.
Yeah.
And that does become a bit of a problem for, that becomes quite a bit of a problem as the day goes on because, again, like, when you're beginning your day, stacking your shelves is not quite so bad. But as the day goes on, like, all these boxes are on top of one another and they don't stack nicely at all. So when we get them into the trucks, they also don't stack nicely in the trucks either.
Well, so when we knew John would be moving, for the couple of months beforehand, I started collecting because our company uses a lot of paper, and we order cartons of paper, and those come in nice boxes with lids.
Yeah.
And so I let the person who manages that know. I have a child who's moving soon. Could you please save me all the boxes? And so, and those boxes, again, all the same uniform size, like banker's boxes.
Yep.
Uniform size and easily stacked.
And with lids.
Huh?
And with lids.
And with lids. And they pack so nicely.
Oh, yeah. And then one of the nice things I found with the moving boxes here as well is that when I would collapse them in, so I would collapse them down and then I would fold them in half and they fit inside a box.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I was able to, like, pack them all inside those boxes.
Yeah. For the next time you move. Are you saving them?
No.
Oh.
I tossed them.
Oh. You tossed them?
I put them in the recycling bin.
You can resell them. You can rent them too. Who knew?
I did not know beforehand.
Yeah. You can rent, there are a number of places that will rent you moving boxes that are all uniform size. But it makes a huge difference to have them all be uniform size.
Oh, yes. I think they really did help here as well for me.
Even before you're loading the truck, to be able to stack them in the corner of your living room and have them all stacked nicely and take less space.
Well, and so I actually think I have pictures of when I got them all here, all the boxes here, because that was a...
It happens, because you're going to pack over the period of a couple of weeks.
Yeah, so that's how everything
stacked
for me.
Yeah, and so being able to stack things nicely and have them take as little room, because when you're packing, you're trying to conserve room too.
Oh, yes, very much trying to conserve.
So you have room to move around.
Yeah. There was a time here where, like, there was quite a number of boxes, and even actually when I moved into my last place, I remember all the boxes basically blocked out the window for a while.
Yeah.
Because I would come home from work, unpack like a box, and then like go back and then go to sleep, and then like come back the next morning and when I woke up and try to unpack a box before I went into work.
Yeah.
And I got almost all the boxes down here. There's a couple left, lingering boxes, but they don't have anything in them. So. I mean,
Well, no, I mean you're pretty well unpacked. I'm impressed.
Oh yeah. Well, I spent the week to do it.
Yeah, you took time off.
Also, make sure you label everything.
Yep.
I was very grateful. So, like, the first things I set up were the kitchen and then my bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
And then the next 2 days were basically the office and the living room.
Yeah.
And having all the stuff labeled for kitchen was very useful at the end of the day. Because I was able to be like, oh, okay, this is all dishes, this is all placeware and everything. Like, you know, oh, I know what these are. These are the weird bottles of alcohol that I don't drink, that I keep just in case.
Well, but if you have guests.
Yeah, for when I have guests.
Yeah.
So it was very nice to be able to unpack all those and be able to say, like, okay, kitchen down, good, done.
Yep.
Okay, bedroom, got all those items over here, done, good, got it, okay. And then they asked me, I was like, oh, do you want us to put the office stuff in the office? I was like, no. I'm not ready for that yet.
Yeah.
Because part of the problem with the office was trying to figure out where stuff went.
Yeah.
And I purposely didn't even start putting together
I mean, you don't start unpacking small items until you've got the furniture where you want it.
Yeah, and that actually, that was a big thing here for me as well. Was that now the bedroom over here? Like I didn't like the cube. It took a while to do because I have a couple more walls in there now.
Yeah.
And so I thought about, do I put these maybe right by the bed, maybe, or do I still leave them up across the wall for me? Because I've always liked that kind of aesthetic of all this.
I think it looks nice the way you've got it.
Yeah, and that was the same way I had it in my bedroom as well.
Yeah.
Back in the last place.
Yeah, it looks nice, and you have a nice surface to put stuff on top of if you wanted to.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, no, that'll get filled with all my plush animals at a certain point here. But no, yeah, figure out where your furniture is going to go. Now I had that problem with the office here, because again, the original way I measured everything, I thought the bookcases would fit in between one another, but there wasn't that amount of room.
I had actually so when I took apart what was several of you lived in that room actually over a period of time. Mm-hmm. But when I redid that room and put a folding bed in it and turned it into an office guest room, mm-hmm. part of the problem I had was trying to work with the furniture and buy a desk that would fit between the two bookcases and still allow for the sofa bed. And so I was measuring and online looking at all my desk options to try to figure out what would fit. And it's still a tight fit.
Now, originally when I got the desk that's in there right now, I wanted something that was at least 30 inches wide by mm-hmm. about 60 inches long. Because the way I measured it was that I could put it right next to my current desk, and I have this almost long contiguous desk almost. Yeah. So that would fit inside there right now, and then there's a little bit of a gap in between it, but I could put it with like another Billy bookshelf or something over there.
Yeah. But that's not how you have it laid out.
No, because the way that bookshelf works there and that window.
Oh, windows are tricky because they don't show on a floor plan. They do if you know how to read certain floor plans, but because they show as a different kind of line. But they don't show on a lot of floor plans for apartments.
Nope. And so, again, the original way I had it intended was that I would have the computer on one side, and then I could roll over to the other side with my chair. But by the way, for carpeting, mm-hmm. I got rollerblade wheels for my office chair.
Oh.
And so they move around really easily on carpets.
Oh, nice.
Because I used to have that that plastic pad you put down.
Yeah.
I had one of those, and it started to curl at the very end, or sometimes if the chair went off,
they'll get brittle sometimes,
or the chair would roll off it, and then the wheels kind of get caught on it.
Yeah.
So I got rollerblade wheels, and it moves perfectly fine in there now.
That's an idea.
Because the other thought I had as well is that I have an old rug. Because my first place I lived at had hardwood floors in there,
Yeah.
and I was worried about an office chair marking up the floor.
Yeah.
And so what I got was I got a carpet to move to have the chair on. And then I was thinking here is that, well, I can put that pad down and I'll put a carpet over it, and that's how so that way the plastic pad doesn't come up and down at all. But then I have this nice surface to roll on and work on, and then I basically just watched a YouTube video that said like, oh no, just do this instead. I was like, oh, yeah, that's a much easier solution.
Yeah.
And it cost me like $25. And it was very easy, and it was so easy. I was able to literally like plop off the old wheels and put the new ones on. It was like so simple.
Now I have to look at that for the chair in my office.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Very easy. So, but going back to the furniture side of stuff here, like figuring out where stuff went was took me a little bit here because again, I was trying to figure out like and the big thing really was the one smaller bookcase and the table.
Yeah.
So like I put the bookcase on the opposite side of the window and then had the table still up against the very edge of the wall.
Yeah.
But I felt that the ingress into the room was a lot thinner and smaller, so I worried about bumping into it.
Yeah.
As well, so that was part of the concern there. So where everything is now, like it'll work itself out perfectly fine. Because I can now see that wall right there, and I'm thinking, what do I do with all this wall space?
Yeah.
And then I saw something online. It's like, oh, maybe I can figure out a way to hang my wrestling championship belts up there.
Oh, very cool. Yeah.
There's the guy who hangs them up on his wall, but the way he hangs them is by putting in screws into a wall, but not going in all the way. So they get caught on what are the snapping things that on jackets and pants.
Yeah, snaps.
The buttons or buttons, yeah. So basically, like, the button kind of buckles kind of like sit in there, and so they kind of just hang off of there.
Oh, I get it. Yeah.
So I'm considering that because I'm trying to find a new place to put my title belts so they can be seen easily. I'm not seeing anything right now.
Now, the problem with screws and walls is that you have to plaster over them to fix it. Like a nail, you can take ivory soap because most walls are that white. And you can take a hard bar of ivory soap. Ivory soap works the best.
Okay.
And rub it over the hole, and it'll fill it.
But not the same with screws?
Screws are too big. Screws leave a much bigger hole usually.
Okay.
Depends on the size of the screw. But screws typically leave a much bigger hole than a nail.
Okay. All right.
Just a thought. But the ivory snow trick, I sat there around girlfriend's apartment because when we moved John, we also had to move girlfriend. But she was moving 3 blocks.
Oh.
So, and because it's so hard to park cars in downtown Philadelphia, I was literally carrying boxes back and forth. But when we were moving girlfriend, I'm like, somebody go buy me a bar of ivory soap. And they brought the bar back, and I'm just running around the apartment with all these thumbtack holes and nail holes, just like running around the apartment, snagging all the things. And then had to teach her how to feather paint so it blends.
Oh.
Yeah, there's a trick to it.
Not a thing you typically would know usually. So.
Huh?
Not something you would typically know.
No. And you have to sort of get a little sea sponge and once you get the paint on the offending area, then you have to sea sponge out so that it blends.
Mm.
You have to kind of feather it.
The next thing I would probably recommend here is going to be a workspace or a table space. Because when you have figurines, like, again, so when I was unloading all the DVDs and books, I was putting them on what was going to be my second hobby table.
Mm-hmm.
And, again, one of the things I found out real quickly when putting all my books and everything on there is that, like, I'm running out of space quickly to put this stuff so I could make sure that they're all there. Because some of it was kind of cleaning a little bit as well. I was like, oh, there's a lot of dust on here. Or might as well clean this while I have the chance to before I put it back up.
Yep.
So there's some stuff like that I was having to do. But having that extra, even just like a little folding table, just so you can like have it on a stand so you could put stuff into places really helped out quite a bit.
Yeah.
Then I have a little folding table that I have for the living room, and
a TV dinner table.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I must have used that like dozens and dozens of times.
Those come in really handy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, like, so useful here at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So yeah, having one of those, just so you can either unpack stuff onto, so you can keep track of what items are where, and then where you're putting them, was really invaluable to me at the end of the day.
Yeah.
I've even considered getting like a small folding table, just for the so I can unpack and either put it in the office or put it in my like, I guess what is my backyard, I guess, or my patio.
Yeah.
I have one of those now, so now you can actually use. The last one was really tiny, so it wasn't really a lot of, and wasn't covered, so it was really hard to use. This one is covered.
Yeah. And screened.
And screened.
Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah. I was even thinking, like, maybe I get some plants out there or something. But the other problem here is there's not a lot of sunlight that hits it, unfortunately.
Well, no, there are plants that like shade, though.
Oh, okay. Yeah. But no, yeah. So that's definitely a really useful tool to have here for even for just a short period of time.
Yep.
And then the other thing from here I would say is have a system. Have a system for where everything goes and where everything collapses into, so when you need to dispose of it, you can. I found, now again, if you're going to resell the moving boxes, that could be a different thing here, but I actually, for me, my last place, my garbage bin was right on the way out to my car.
Yeah.
So literally I could drop off garbage and then go like another 20 feet to where my car was. So it was really easy. Here, the garbage bins are at the very end of the block. So if you've got a couple heavy things like I did, it took a little bit to get them over there.
Yeah.
I found a solution for that.
What's that?
Cut handles.
Oh.
So I have a box cutter.
Yeah.
And what I did was I cut basically.
Because not all boxes come with handles.
No. Most moving boxes don't even come with handles here.
Depends on the box.
Yeah, but what I found was that I could cut little holes, just cut like 3 little cuts to make like what would be a handle, basically.
Yeah.
And what turned into what was something where like I had to have a lot of grip on, I could have a fist grip, which was a lot stronger, and I could carry it a lot easier.
Yeah.
So one of the things was that I had the big boxes for the monitors and the TV, which were relatively light for the most part, but they were awkwardly shaped.
Yeah.
And so if I held them with my fingers, I could hold them with my fingers, but I'd have to like stop midway through walking to be like, oh, okay, drop them for just a second, pick them back up. But what I found instead was that if I just, these are boxes just going to throw into recycling one way or another way, so
yeah.
I just cut little holes into the sides of it here to make it like a grip, and right around the place where I would have had it as a grip, so I could have it, be really
logically placed. Yeah.
Yeah, and that worked out really, really well for transporting the boxes I wasn't going to need anymore.
Yeah.
It was just like
even if you had a load in it, as long as the load was a reasonable weight, that would be helpful.
Oh yeah, no. Again, I found it to be really useful, and it was just very easy to pick up and just kind of like flop into the thing here at the end of the day. Very, very useful at that particular point here. So do you want to know some of the things I went to the hardware store for?
Yeah, I'm curious because so what are your immediate needs hardware wise?
So one of the first things I got was some PVC piping.
Yeah.
And I did that because when I got here, I didn't know what kind of shelving units I was going to have because they were still installing them at the time. Mm-hmm. So I have kind of the not like a wooden bar sort of thing, but I have kind of like this grate sort of version, I guess.
The white wire shelving.
Yeah. And so what I did was I went to the hardware store and I got some PVC piping so I can hang my puppets on. Because I have puppets that I go with my cosplay costumes in.
Yeah.
And I figured out a hanging system for them, so they hang on in one of my closets here, and they're just kind of like looking, and they look nice there. Beforehand, they weren't. They were just kind of sitting in there, but now they're kind of upright and they're hanging properly.
And it's probably better for them too.
Yeah, yeah, and especially Sonic, which is very hollow but very.
He's constructed so cool.
Yeah, but it's a very thin foam inside him though. So like this makes which makes him very light to carry around, but but always scares the shit out of me whenever I transport him because it's very easy to be like collapse the foam, get a wrinkle in the foam, and have it stay that way. It's like no, I found a really neat little system for that. I bought a bunch of S hooks.
I really like S hooks, and especially for what you've got there, for the system you've got there.
Yeah, and so
you can hang things.
Yeah, so what I used them for actually was for my various backpacks and bags that I have.
Yeah.
Because we have the one bag from Japan.
Yep.
I have a couple older bags as well, and
they work well for women's handbags.
Okay, I don't have women's handbags, but
I'm just saying they work well for women's handbags.
And so it's just able to loop that onto a hook, and I have a couple of those now hanging inside the closet very easily.
Very nice.
I got a new shower head because the one I had beforehand was a little dinky. This one,
a nice broad shower head.
This one's a little bit bigger, so it hits me a little bit more, which is good because I'm a big guy.
For anybody.
Yeah.
Really.
Nobody
needs a wimpy shower.
So I've thought about it beforehand, and I kind of now wish I did this at my last place, but I decided to try the floating shelf.
The floating shelf looks so awesome.
Yeah. Again,
it's really cool.
I didn't know how they got put in at all initially because I was kind of figuring out, like, how does it work? And then...
It must be molly bolts?
Well, so there's a bar bracket that goes to the very back of it first with these, like, stud poles that you put them into, and that's how they go in.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's very... It's a very simple process. I don't think it took me more than 15 minutes to get it installed. And the hardest part of all of it was really just A, finding the studs, and B, lining up the holes at the end of the day.
Yeah, stud finders will help you find the studs.
Mm-hmm.
But if you don't have a stud finder, they sound different when you knock.
Yeah, and I ended up just kind of like knocking on there.
Yeah, you can tell when you're on them because it just
sounds
different.
It doesn't sound hollow at all.
Yeah.
I put the one up there and just to see what it was like, and again I got a much bigger one and I think it works a lot better. It
was perfectly proportioned for that wall.
Yeah, and that was partly why I got it. Like I measured the wall ahead of time and I was like, oh well, let me get this, and if I do this, I know cap shields X amount of
inches.
Distance. Yeah. The other thing I got was
it's your Marvel entertainment.
Yeah, and one of these days I'll get like an Iron Man helmet that I'll put up there maybe, or something Iron Man related at some point to kind of add to that there. I figure again at some point.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of picture hanging hooks. So the 3M hooks that you said beforehand, those are.
Yeah.
I went over to the store and probably bought like a couple dozen of them.
Yeah.
Or no, I got about like 2 cases of them. But the other thing I found really nice was the 3M has these drywall hooks, which is supporting the bird painting that I have.
Oh.
And like they have them rated for like 15 pounds, 25 pounds, and 45 pounds. And like I really, really like them.
The 3M ones, what's nice is they pull off the wall when you go to remove them. They pull off the wall actually really easily. It's like you kind of burp them.
Yeah.
And to lose the suction grip, and so they come off the wall really cleanly.
Oh, the 3M ones I have, there's a little tap that you push up. You push up the thing, and it kind of the hook part and it falls off. There's a plastic lining in the back.
Yeah.
And then you just kind of like drag the adhesive off.
Yeah.
It's so easy. But this one here, this like literally has like some big giant hooks that go into the drywall.
Oh, okay.
And again, it's working really well.
Yeah. The 3M makes some awesome stuff.
I also got some wire, some hanging wire as well.
Mm-hmm.
I got the clear one. I think if I go back, I would get the metal one because the clear one was really, really hard to tie off into knots.
Because they slide.
Yeah, I had to.
Yeah.
So I had to do. So with Cap's shield, what I did was I got some of the clear stuff and I put it. It basically made it. I put it around where the handles are in the back, around the metal brackets.
Yeah.
And then I made a second loop at the very top to hook onto a hook, and that's what's supporting Captain America's shield here. So I don't know if I'd do that again necessarily, but it's working out so far.
Looks great.
Thank you.
Looks really
and
nice.
you can still take it off the wall and play with it if you wanted to. That's which is the real fun part of having like props and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I've hung my one sword I've hung off the wall using the 3M brackets as well before too, and that's supported it really well in the past too. So
now things I'm surprised you haven't hung yet. You had some fabric anime things. Are those going to go here to here?
So I haven't decided on where to put the wall scrolls here just yet. I'm trying to keep the living room as...
I think the living room has enough in it.
Well, I mean, I'm trying to keep all the nerdy stuff in the office as much as possible.
Oh, okay.
So I've been trying to figure out, like, if I do, because I don't want to have it in a situation where, like, everywhere you go, you're just surrounded by everything nerdy.
That's true. And actually, you have a nice proportion of things out now.
Yeah, and so, I mean, like, the shelving for the... So one of the nice things that came with my apartment is that there's a fireplace that had kind of a banister already with it.
Yeah.
And so I was able to put another TV over there for the time being, and I have a couple nice statue sort of things that are over there as well that I decided that can live there. And even the Marvel stuff is just in a corner, kind of away from everything.
Yeah.
So, or at least in a corner where like it's not the most apparent.
It's not overwhelming.
No, it's very subtle.
Yeah.
But so I've been trying to figure out, like, do I put more stuff here in the living room, or do I just kind of like keep it simple for the time being?
Yeah.
And again, I haven't decided on anything yet. You know, like, I got time.
Yep.
What I'm kind of happy about as well is that I have that my sofa is light enough that if I wanted to, I could pull it back even further.
Yeah.
Which I might end up doing to make the living room feel a little bit bigger. But especially for my case here, is like I want to be able to set up the VR rig out here at one point.
Well, yeah, but you have space underneath the Marvel shelf that you could put that in, right?
Well, no, I could. So the VR rig basically would just be the two telescoping poles,
yeah,
and then
okay.
I could have, because I thought for a while for where the Marvel stuff is, there's enough space underneath it to put like a television or something.
Yeah.
But it's also right up against where the air conditioner is, and I want the air conditioner to be able to breathe.
Well, and if you ever lit the fireplace as well.
Yeah.
Is that propane or?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't plan on ever using it.
Okay.
In all honesty, mostly because A, I'm fearful if it does work or not.
Yeah.
And B, like, I've never owned a fireplace before, so I don't know.
We never use ours.
No, we did. We
used to, yeah.
Very sparingly.
Yeah.
You know, so I don't want to be in that situation where, like, oh, well, let's try to use the fireplace. Well, now the person above me doesn't have a place to live anymore.
Yeah.
Because or the entire complex is on fire now. Oops.
Yeah.
I just wanted to be warm.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure it's safe.
I would hope so.
I mean, it looks like it's been used. Not recently, but.
I mean, so, but yeah, I'm for me right now. I think I'm trying to keep the nerdy stuff out of the main living space here as much as possible right now. Again, like there's time to do other stuff here.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's not a rush to get anything hung up here at all.
Well, you have a cool, Art Deco poster ad, French ad that's hanging there, and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I thought about hanging that up in the hallway, and I was like, no, if I hang it up in the hallway, nobody's going to see it.
No, it actually looks really cool there.
Thank you.
It's a perfect place for it.
It was thinking of either putting that or I put it in up against the wall that I'm at right now, right behind me, because I think
yeah,
the other thing would work well in like a dining room space almost.
Yeah, or the wall behind me.
Yeah. Also bought a bunch of cleaning supplies as well.
Yep.
So I have got some. Now I have an abundance of scrubber pads and foam foam sponges and stuff like that.
And moving is probably a good opportunity to get rid of all the old ones, and grab some new ones.
Oh yeah. So yeah, I have a bunch of new ones here. I also got some more. Oddly enough, did you know that like hardware stores carry a lot of those like detergents and other stuff like that too?
Yeah.
I was really surprised that like I went there, and I was just like, oh well, let's get. Well, I mean, this is probably what I'd pay whenever at the store anyways. Maybe a little cheaper. I'll get it here right now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and other things to think about, like the hardware store will have is like a pumice stone to scrub toilets if you've got a toilet ring. Although a well-kept secret, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, there's a lot of cleaning power in Coca-Cola.
Yeah, so if you pour Coca-Cola into a toilet and leave it sitting, it will actually descale a lot. So just a...
That's what I used at my last place.
Yeah.
I purposely stopped up the toilet,
and
then just filled it with Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
And then unclogged it. And washed it all the way, and it was like, oh, this really did do a good job of cleaning it.
Yeah, so that'll get you a long way. So there are things that will
help you out there.
Will help you out there. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Do not use bleach and ammonia together ever.
Never. I don't even use bleach at all.
Well, bleach and ammonia will cause a chemical reaction.
Yeah.
And create a fume.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Won't even try that on there.
Yeah.
Some of the other things I was looking at the hardware store were some more shelves and organizational stuff here. But as I thought about it, like, I don't need that right now.
Yeah.
Something in the future potentially, but I don't need that right now.
No, I think you're in good shape.
Yeah, no, I think I'm well spaced out here in this new apartment that I won't have to worry about that for a bit here necessarily.
Yeah.
I did take the opportunity to buy like a new screw set and some wrenches. But those are stuff I figured I would potentially need one way or another anyways.
Yeah, and the thing is, if you are going the IKEA route, IKEA sells a very nice tool set. Actually, two of them.
I have it.
Yeah.
I have that
the little orange one?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's actually a really good basic, just little tool set if you're just getting started.
I've had that for almost a dozen years now, and like it's just been like so useful.
Yeah.
For the last 10 years at least.
Comes in a nice little plastic container.
Very easy to transport with you. Oh yeah, let me get my little toolkit out.
Yeah.
Plop, and it's right there. So,
yeah.
Very, very, very useful.
Yep.
The other thing I tried out, and I'm probably very late to this game here. I tried Amazon Fresh.
Oh, I actually use Amazon Fresh to send groceries to all my children actually every now and then. Even Lila.
Again, so I
have to make sure whoever's going to be home.
And again, like they delivered within a 2-hour span, and it was actually very timely. And so like I think I did it on Wednesday. It was kind of getting to I was still unpacking a lot of the office here, and I was just like, I'm hungry, but I don't really want to go out. I do, let me look on Amazon here and try this out here. And
it's Whole Foods.
Yeah, it's Whole Foods essentially.
And they have great soup.
Well, what I was really surprised about is that like some of the items I would go to the store to go get normally was less expensive through Amazon through the Whole Foods online through Amazon.
Well, you're going to pay a $5 delivery fee.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay.
With Prime.
Oh, that's true. Well, I think it depends on how much you have to order. At least a certain volume.
$35.
Yeah, which is easy to get to.
Yeah. So I mean, like I got like some pasta and I got a couple items here, and I was like really surprised at like, oh wow, if I went to the store, I know this would be more expensive at the store. Like, and so like saved a little bit of money through this here at the end of the day, and then had it delivered. And I was just and I knew people have been trying to try to get me on board with it before, and I was always just like, yeah, but I like going to the store and seeing what's there, and maybe maybe something's on sale, and maybe
Yeah.
I'll eat this as a snack this week, or ooh, that's on sale. Let me grab a whole bunch of those or something. Maybe I was like, and now mind you, it's not the widest selection that they have on there either.
Right.
Um,
And they'll substitute for you.
yeah,
They'll tell you though that they're going to, but
yeah. Well, everything I got was very much name brandy sort of stuff. I think.
Yeah.
I think the only things I didn't get that weren't name brandy were like the eggs.
Yeah.
But they're 365 eggs, and I was just like,
Yeah.
all right, well,
That's their own name brand.
Yeah, okay, so they're good for a year, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
Doubtful, but
Yeah.
but no, yeah. I tried it out. I would have done DoorDash a couple times here as well, potentially. But there's like literally right down the street from me is like dozens of different restaurants.
Yeah, and you're in an interesting area too because you can go you could have pho or
There's a ramen place.
there's a ramen place. Yeah, doesn't
I'm,
surprise me
I'm really looking forward to the ramen
because you're
place.
across from a Asian market.
Yeah, so
Ranch 99.
Yeah, so there's an Asian market to the left of me. There's a whole bunch of different restaurants, including a couple Asian ones over to my right. They've also got like Panda Express, McDonald's. There's a whole bunch of restaurants just right down the way from me here too. Like it was to the point here where it's kind of like, you know what? One of the, like either like on Saturdays or something,
Yeah.
or like once a week here, I'm just going to stop up. I'm going to go through each one of these places one by one. I'll just start at the right and go down to the left.
Yep.
And just kind of work my way through every single restaurant and just figure out like which ones I like the most or which ones which ones I'll order from or how they work, Like,
Yeah. No, you dying. There's the ramen place out by us that's not bad, but it's not having had it in Japan, it's not the same.
Well, I mean, like I haven't had ramen in a long time either,
Yeah.
so it was like
Yeah.
even if the noodles are kind of chewy, I'll accept that.
I'm willing to bet it's pretty good.
Yeah, I would hope so.
Yeah.
Definitely got a Japanese name. There's a noodle house place here as well that has like a whole bunch of what looks like to be really appetizing Chinese food there too.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited.
Oh,
to try
you're in a great it's a great food location.
Very excited for that kind of stuff here. So yeah, moving as a nerd, kind of like moving as a normal person, I would imagine. But it's the little things that you don't think about beforehand that you have to kind of remind yourself about.
Yeah.
Because again, I mean, like I hadn't thought about. Now again, like my movers did pack up some of my figurines at the end of the day, and thankfully nothing got damaged at the end of the day, so I'm grateful for that. But the other thing I do need to go back to the hardware store is to get a little bit of super glue.
Super glue and Gorilla glue probably things to have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because some stuff did get a little damaged. Some things have snapped, but all of it is fixable at the end of the day here too. So very doable from the hardware store at this point right now.
Okay, well that's good. That's good news.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I'm very excited about that. Now I did have an offer to help me unpack stuff, but like I was a little weary of that. Kind of want to just get it done myself, I think.
Well, and I think unpacking, you just kind of want things to go where you want, and you want to know where they went.
Yeah.
I mean, we used to have a housekeeper who used to, like, if you left it out, she'd put it away. You wouldn't find it for months.
Yeah.
I found some fabric that I had left out in with your father's T-shirts.
That's funny.
Yeah. So I mean, if you let somebody else unpack, the unfortunate thing is that unless it's really logical, and a lot of it's like, so do you want glasses here? Do you want silverware in this drawer? I mean, so I think unpacking's tough.
Yeah, like I have a whole bunch of like canteen style containers essentially.
Uh-huh.
I also got like a bunch of tumblers, coffee tumblers from work as well. Like I was trying to figure out like where do I put these? I don't use these all that often. So I thankfully like I have a bunch of extra shelves in my new place in my kitchen, so I have it over there. Mm-hmm. Even just the addition of this little like pantry sort of thing, little part there. Like I was
that's
like,
nice.
Like what do I put inside there? The other problem here I had
staples like flour and cereal and
Well, yeah, but like that was what the top of the refrigerator was for a long time.
Oh, no, you have a nice pantry.
Yeah. The problem I had as well is where do I put the garbage can?
Oh. Oh, that is a problem.
So I put it in the place you would probably expect it.
Underneath the sink.
No. Actually, the sink is very crowded underneath here. I actually put it right next to the oven.
Oh.
So so before where I would put my pots and pans in there, I put my pots and pans in the pantry thing there instead.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Because there's a lot of space inside there for it. So one of the ones, the shelving to the door to the right of the oven, I basically took down the shelf and I put the garbage can in there.
Oh, very good. Okay.
And I got a slightly smaller garbage can to accommodate for that.
Yeah, to fit.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think I'll take out my garbage a little bit more often now, which will be the idea.
That's a nice walk.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, definitely new things to think about in my new place.
Very cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Got a lot of upper cabinets, too.
Yeah. And I wasn't expecting to have all the cabinets there, but not very thankful for having all the cabinets.
Huh.
Kind of reminds me back before you redid the kitchen
in our house. Yeah, yeah. So think of how open that would look if you didn't have all those upper cabinets. It would look very open.
Yes, but I don't really need it to be open.
Yeah, you don't.
So, also, really, again, if you have an older TV, a Chromecast, I think is very useful. I've spent a number of I've spent.
So now you're not a big TV watcher.
I'm not technically, but I watch a lot of media, and so I watch either a lot of Netflix or I'm getting into a lot of Amazon Prime now. I know there's quite a number of people who do like Hulu and Disney Plus and things like that.
Because there are all sorts of series now. I mean, network TV is really kind of stuck on itself.
Yeah, I think there's still room for network TV at the end of the day. It's just, I know I'm just not watching a lot of network.
It's not real exciting.
It's not only is it not really exciting here, like I'm also just kind of over with commercials.
Oh, well, that too.
Like I really just don't. Even when I mean, like the amount of times I've thought about getting like the premium YouTube service just to avoid like
the commercials.
Just to avoid the 5 and 10, 15-second commercials. And it's just like, yeah, how much time am I really saving by paying YouTube to avoid that here?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, like most of these you can skip real quickly here, and at the end of the day, you're like, it's better. I could use the ad skipper stuff out there as well. But when I do that, the people that get the revenue off the ads don't get that revenue at all.
Yeah. So
like I would feel bad for a content creator on YouTube.
So if I only watch the first couple seconds of the ad and I skip it?
No. So like there are software that you can get for your computer, usually free. That's I believe called ad blockers. And basically what it does is like, so if you went to go watch a YouTube video, it would block the ads so they didn't pop up before the video starts.
Oh.
Or they would minimize the amount of ads on, or they would basically make it so the ads don't appear on websites in some cases.
Yeah, I'm aware of it to stopping the pop-up ads.
Yeah. But no, they would basically like just blank out the ad space on websites you would go to as well. I know Pop uses it on his computer because I've told him about it.
Yeah.
But I don't because it's been my understanding from YouTube creators here, or at least from
content creators,
that I've listened to and they've spoken about it here, where if those ads don't get triggered at the end of the day, they don't get any revenue. They lose some of the revenue on those videos at the end of the day.
Interesting.
And I know that for some people here at the end of the day, like those ads make a difference here for their video, for their content.
It's part of their revenue.
Yeah. But going back to the entire TV thing, I don't really watch a whole lot of. I watch a lot of YouTube and I listen to a lot of music and podcast. Even just cooking out here just yesterday. So I cooked some pork chops here yesterday. And I have the Chromecast, which lets me broadcast the content from my phone onto the TV. Mm-hmm. And I could turn the volume up really high on that to listen to my podcast here, or especially when I was having, because I have a new rule here that like food doesn't go into the office. So I use my dining room table to actually dine on now. I know, which is a
unique idea.
I know. But I was able to kind of watch Amazon Prime out here. So I was able to watch TV out here, for example. And so I was watching, I think, right now I'm working through The Boys.
Oh, how is that?
Violent.
Oh. So not my thing.
It's not that it wouldn't be your thing here. It's just,
it's hard to know. I mean, maybe that's a episode all itself.
Yes, there is an episode for us on superheroes if it were real.
Yeah.
Because I know there's because they recently came out with a new series called Invincible, which is an animated series, but it is not
for kids.
No. It's not for kids when there's a reactionary video for it that reminds you of the Red Wedding.
Ooh.
And watching people's reaction to that was like, having known what was coming up and having watched it already, I was just like, and then watching other people's reactions to it, you're just like, who are all going into it cold and don't know anything about it. It's funny because it's tantalizingly horrible what's happening, but at the same time, you're just kind of like, ooh, how are they going to squirm when this happens?
Yeah, this is a lot like back in the day, taking somebody to see Jaws if you'd already seen it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I saw it the first time with somebody who had already seen it, who grabbed me at the waist when the thing happened, and I was like jumped out of my seat.
So yes, there's that. There's also The Boys, which has been very popular. I'm still working through the first season of that. I would also recommend The Incredibles as a very realistic version of superheroes.
Yeah.
Because I always thought, to me for a long time, The Incredibles was my favorite Pixar movie.
Yeah.
Just because I felt it took the superhero genre like very seriously. Plus, it was Brad Bird that did it. Like Brad Bird makes cool stuff.
Well, I mean, a lot of it is it's okay. So these are superheroes. Then what happens? Do they have a life?
Yeah, or what?
You actually got to see superheroes having a life, which you usually don't get to see.
No, and I find that, and I think that's what's very interesting about Invincible and then The Boys as well. But I think that's we'll get to that in another podcast here. But for this podcast here, we have all of our show notes that we'll put up here and all the recommendations for a nerdy move, as I'm calling it here, onto our website at thenerdtutorialpodcast.com. And then if you have further comments or you want to continue the discussion with us, we post on our Facebook group at facebook.com/nerdtutorialpodcast, all is one word. And then if you have ideas or future topics, or you want to see some of our previous topics that we're following as well, you can see us on Twitter at nerd_tutorial. And again, if you have ideas for future topics, we'd love to hear them here as well. But on behalf of my mom and myself, we hope you guys stay safe out there still in these weird times. And we'll see you guys again next time.
Bye.